If you have followed me over there from Instagram, hi, I did it. If you are new, welcome, subscribe, join along in the crazy. My name is Nancy. I am a homeschool mom going on 6 years, I think, possibly 7. I have a rising 4th grader, rising 6th grader. I don't have a fancy tripod or anything like that, so I'm trying really hard to keep this camera straight. But even if I had it on a tripod, I wouldn't want to. You know why? Because as we flip through this curriculum, look at what we can do. We can get in and you guys can get a really good look at the curriculum. Okay, so why am I doing this video? We are gonna take a look at my history curriculum for this upcoming 25-26 school year for my rising 6th grader. Do you guys have any idea how hard it was to find my history curriculum? If you guys followed me on Instagram, I had a near meltdown, a legit near meltdown when I was like, what am I gonna do? This is, I suppose secular at the very minimum. It is a neutral curriculum. Okay, so I tried looking everywhere for information on this. I couldn't find anything. So hopefully this video will help out some people. Give me a thumbs up if this helps you guys out. Because I know when I went looking for this curriculum, there wasn't anything. And I was on the struggle bus. There's actually some videos from the creators, which is Classical Academic Press. But it was just a bunch of like old men. Like having a synopsis, like a conference of some sort, like where they were just talking about why the curriculum was good, but it wasn't giving us any flip through. So that's what I am going to do. Okay, there is 1A and there is 1B. So you need both books for one full year. This is supposed to be for one semester. This is supposed to be for another semester. It is middle school. One other thing I should say is if you go onto their Instagram account, that's the only one I'm familiar with, which I did when I was trying to find out information. I don't think their stuff is accurate because they had this listed as 3rd to 5th grade. This is definitely not a 3rd to 5th grade curriculum at all. On their website, they have it accurately listed as a middle school curriculum. It's either 6th to 8th grade or it may even be 5th to 8th grade. I'm not quite sure. Definitely check it out. But it's not a elementary curriculum at all. I think maybe 5th grade, sure, but definitely middle school. Okay, so let me go ahead and answer a question that I am sure a lot of people have is if you need the teacher's edition. Yeah, you need the teacher's edition because it has all the answers in there. It also has a couple rabbit trail suggestions along the side in a green text box, which I will show you guys in a second, that tells you, hey, this website might be interesting to look at, or hey, you may want to read this chapter from Story of the World. So yeah, it will actually recommend specific chapters in here. It's not going to take you through this whole entire book from Story of the World. So it's not like it's going to tell you, okay, you read this, read chapter 1 from here. It's not going to do that, but it includes specific chapters that tie in with this as the story goes along. And it's not even full chapters. It may be sections within the chapter, you know, but integrating Story of the World with this is definitely a possibility. You can definitely do that. I love Story of the World. It has a very cool narrative kind of storytelling way that it has about it. And this is just like it. It is. The only thing, and this is a video for another day, the only thing I didn't like about Story of the World is I don't like the activity book other than the map work. I love the map work, didn't really like the activity because I was doing this with a 5th grader and I felt like a lot of the questions just didn't dig deep enough, you know? But anyway, that's a story for another day. So the teacher's edition, I recommend it. It's going to have all your answers. It's going to have some rabbit trails to go into. Okay, so on the website, it says that this is for grades 6 to 8, or it could be 5 to 8. You guys are definitely going to want to check it out. This goes deep into each specific section. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take you to the beginning of where they break it down. We'll cover this in a second. So level 1 is what I have. So 6th grade, right? What you're supposed to be doing is 1A and then you do 1B. So this is all one school year. This is another school year, another school year, another school year. So what you're going to be covering in level 1 is early and middle Bronze Age, and then late Bronze Age into the Iron Ages. So you may be asking, where's Greece? Where's Rome? That's in book 2, and they spend an entire semester on Greece, an entire semester on Rome. So you know it's going in there. It's going in there deep. Then level 3, medieval world, and then level 4, the modern world. So as you can see, it's kind of like a 4-year sequence. So I don't know personally how I'm going to be implementing this, because I don't think we're going to be doing 4 straight years of like world history. So what I'm probably going to be doing is alternating 1 year of world history, 1 year of American history, and so on and so on. So we're about to jump into it, but before I jump into it, I want to note that the complete curriculum consists of the teacher's guide, the student book, and there is like a printable pack that's like an add-on one. And if you go on Rainbow Resources, it shows this, and like a picture of a phone, like a little iPhone thing. And that is like a digital pack that you're going to get as an add-on for $20. So what does a digital pack do? It's additional copies of the appendix that's back there. But for those of you guys who want some non-secular content interwoven with your ancient history, it will prompt you in the teacher's guide when to go and look and pull that in. So you can pull in some non-secular biblical content in there if you want to, okay? Okay, so let's do the table of contents, and I've already pre-selected a chapter in here for us to look that's smack in the middle, kinda. Not like an intro one, basically. You know, something like right in the middle so you guys can look. Okay, so this very first book covers ancient Mesopotamia, and it covers ancient Egypt. And then when we get to book 2, I'll show you what book 2 looks like. But those two things, oh my gosh, my hand is shaking. I am not, I'm not used to holding the phone sideways. Okay, let's do this thing. All right, so I have picked this chapter, chapter 6. Okay. The lessons always start off with words and definitions, and then they even have it broken down into important figures and important highlights, and sometimes they even have important places. So they have it nicely kind of like segmented and organized and stuff. What is this little musical icon? I don't know if it's going to tell us in this chapter, but I will tell you for every unit. So there's 2 units in this particular book. For every unit, there's like a little song. I shouldn't say little because it's actually not little. It's quite big. I'll show it to you when we get to the teacher's guide. But you actually, it's like a song that is pretty lengthy, and it takes you, it like helps the child to remember the date and the important things that happen. And for every single chapter you get into, there's a new verse for you to learn. So it's not like all of a sudden you have to memorize a whole page. It is like maybe 3 additional lines that you have to learn per chapter. Okay, so that's what the musical icon is. Okay, the story is just like Story of the World, in my opinion. It is very kind of like narrative and storytelling, and I'm holding it here so you guys can pause the YouTube video and you guys can go and look. But see the stuff over here on the side? Remember the stuff over here on the side, because when we go into the teacher's guide, there may be a few more stuff off to the side, and it's for the instructor, like possible rabbit trails, biblical tie-ins that you may want to look into your resource pack if you want to tie in some biblical content. So yeah, so it looks like this. It looks text heavy. This is middle school, so it's text heavy. You're going to be reading, but look at the maps. The maps are super cool. Now, I loved in Story of the World, my favorite part was all the map work. I think that that's so important, and that's so, I loved it. What I didn't love was that it was in black and white. And look at this. It is like so pretty. So in the teacher's guide, in the appendix, you will have almost full page spreads of all these maps that you can photocopy to your heart's content. You can go ahead, put it up on the wall, and all sorts of stuff. I was looking. I just noticed my things are falling. Okay, so you can look to your heart's content and all sorts of stuff. So over here on the side, when you see like the praying hands right there, that means that there's usually a biblical tie-in that you can opt in to do. And there's something usually in the the digital resource pack that you can pull out that goes along with it. I may have to invest in a tripod because my hands are just like shaky. Okay, and then what you have here, what I love, this puzzle piece icon that you see like right over here, kind of gives you like a summary, a rundown of like the big talking points. Look at the maps, so pretty. See the praying hands, another like biblical tie-in if you want to. Look at the maps. I really am impressed with the maps. There's another puzzle piece in there, big talking points. And then you get to the end of the old Babylonian period. You have more big takeaway points in there. And big picture of ancient Mesopotamia. They utilize like a lot of graphs and stuff. I kind of think that's really cool because it's a way of you grasping and organizing what it is that you just finished talking about. So you have all the dates there. You have the empire. You have the type of government, the main language spoken. Okay, my favorite part, besides the fact that it's done in like a storytelling way, is the writing portion. And that is where I felt like Story of the World lacked a little bit. For me specifically, I should say, because I was using it with a 5th grader. And with my 5th grader, he just needs a little bit more, you know? So the flow is kind of very similar chapter to chapter, but within these categories, the assignment changes. So for instance, you'll always have some sort of vocabulary work. You'll always have a talk it over point. You'll always have some sort of writing component. You will always have map work, but it may change a little bit in how they approach it. So for this one, you have a talk it over point right here that you can easily turn into like a written prompt if you want to. So how do you think Babylonia under Hammurabi's rule would have been a good place to live? Why or why not? And then you have matching the vocabulary words with the definition. And then you have this jotting down. Hammurabi was one of the most famous emperors in ancient history. Write down 4 facts about him that you learned in this chapter. And then who am I? Can you identify who would have said each of the following statements? Write your answer in the line below. And then there's more over here. And then you have a be creative one. There's usually some sort of illustration or some sort of like artistic tie-in in every single chapter. The ones I usually saw was some sort of illustration that you had to do. So this one's a little bit different for me. Imagine that you were a soldier in ancient Mesopotamia and write a short story about what it would have been like to invade a new land. Use your imagination. How do the people living there react to your arrival? Do they welcome you because your ruler is more just and fair, or are they afraid of you and your ruler? Are their laws similar or different from your ruler's law? Can you understand their language and writing system? Yada, yada, yada. All these things, right? And then you have your map work where you have this, and then you have to label it. And then you have another writing prompt. Rulers such as Hammurabi liked to be powerful and wanted to rule over as much territory as they could conquer. Do you think this is a good way to rule? Why or why not? Write down some of your ideas. Okay, and then you have a bonus activity. I still don't know why it's titled a bonus activity. I have no idea. At first I thought because it would tie into some of the non-secular content, but clearly I am wrong. So I have no idea why it's titled. I probably would if I read it, the complete intro into the teacher's guide, but I haven't yet. So complete the following big picture of ancient Mesopotamia. So then you're just kind of like filling in this chart. So you have these dates, you're going to fill in the emperor's name, the type of government, and the main language spoken. Okay, now I'm going to go through and I'm going to find another chapter just to give you guys like a really thorough flip through, kind of like look through what the actual lessons look like. So this is the very next chapter, the literature and laws of ancient Mesopotamia. Again, you have important words, you have your music. Remember, learn your verse. Basically, that's what it's reminding you of. And this particular chapter, because I looked ahead a little bit, is on Gilgamesh, so it's going to dive a little bit into that. So then you have important figures over here and important highlights. The Epic of Gilgamesh, what is it? So I believe this chapter is all about that. So, if you're not familiar with classical style homeschooling material, they are really big on Latin, like word source origination and stuff. So you're always going to find some of like the bolded words and vocabulary. They're always going to tell you like, so literature comes from the Latin litera, meaning a letter of the alphabet, you know, and fiction comes from fictio, meaning shaping or fashioning. And it does that for every single one off to the side. So I just wanted to mention that. You have this, didn't I tell you? They utilize a lot of charts and like graphs in here. So I really like the way that they like organize that. So you have legends versus myths. I like that. I think that chart's very handy. So then you're going into the Epic of Gilgamesh. Now, see the praying hands? So then this is your non-secular tie-in that you can do. Okay. And then it'll have some questions off to the side, some thinking questions that you can go and talk about with your student or for them to look through. See the praying hands there. So it's not interwoven into the text, but it's there. So, hey, if you want to interweave it into your study, you can, but it's not directly interwoven into the curriculum. Okay, so then you have this graph over here, justice and its limits, human limitations, cultural differences, personal feelings regarding the Code of Hammurabi. All right, now here are the written stuff. So talk it over. The Code of Hammurabi was a law of the land in Babylonia. His law code was organized and designed to give justice to the people. What makes a law just and fair? What makes a law unjust? Can you give an example of a law that is just and unjust? What about one that you think would not be just? Okay, and then you have your vocabulary. This usually kind of stays the same. True or false. So now you have true or false questions. Circle all the statements that are true about fiction and nonfiction. True about legends, Gilgamesh. And then what happens next? Oh, you got to put it in a sequence of events. So you have these events from the story, the Epic of Gilgamesh, and you have to put them in order. That's cool. But you see how the activities change? And then you have a fill in the blank kind of sentence with, I'm assuming these are the vocabulary words that they just have to unscramble. And then you have your written prompt. I think this is the written prompt. Yeah, the written prompt in here. Legends begin as real life stories, but become less believable as time passes and the events are changed or exaggerated. Can you think of any real life people who have become legends over time? Why do you think stories of famous people change from being historical to being legendary? Part true and part imaginary. Write down some of your ideas. And then over here, so see, there's usually some sort of illustration. The other one was a little bit different. It says... and Ketu was a friend to the animals in the forest. Use your imagination and write a conversation that in Ketu might have had with one of the forest animals. You might write about him comforting a bear who was caught in an animal trap or talking to a wolf who was planning to harm a smaller animal. Be creative. And what I like, so usually what these like illustrative ones are, it requires not just like coloring in a picture or draw a picture of a farmer or something like that. It's usually a little bit more in depth. It's usually something that requires the student to have a solid footwork on. And if they don't, then they go back into the text to find out that information in order to be able to illustrate it. So I love that tie-in. And then here we go with the bonus activity again. Circle the correct answer for each of the following questions. So there are some questions and then they have to fill it in. And that is it. Okay, so I want to mention two things. You may have noticed that there weren't a lot of crafts and like projects and stuff. There are crafts and projects throughout. It's not as much, perhaps maybe, that we would have gotten in elementary, but it's there. And you're going to have to go. It's in the teacher's guide. So let me move all this and let's do the teacher's guide so you guys can see what that looked like. So what was that? Chapter 7 or 8? Okay, so here is the one with the Gilgamesh epic that was in there, right? So you have important words. Everything is exactly the same. It's going to be literally exactly what I just showed you, except there's just going to be a few more prompts. So nothing has changed from there. Nothing has changed from here. But you will come across some of these over here, and this was not in the other one. So to read about the British scholar George Smith, who rediscovered the Epic of Gilgamesh, go deeper. So the printable pack. So you can do the printable pack, which I did not buy. But what you could do instead, if you were like me and you didn't want to spend the $20 and get the printable pack, you can just YouTube it, find out about George Smith and just pull up a YouTube video. But at least it's there for you to follow that rabbit trail, you know? So it's there. And if you didn't think about it already, it's got it there for you. And then you can take it from there, you know? Let me see if there's another one. Yeah, over here, this green box over here did not exist in the student one. So what does it say? The question. Remember how I had a question box and there was like nothing underneath? Well, in the teacher's guide, it actually will have like an answer for you. So in the student book, when we were looking through it, it didn't have any of that. It just literally just had the question. So it gives you an answer. A good friend is a person whom you can trust. Yada, yada, yada. And then it says, was it a good decision for Gilgamesh and Enkidu to become friends instead of rivals? And then it goes and talks like more talking points. That's not in the student book. This is also, anything green is not from the student book. So look, story of the world, it's prompting you to go and read it. So read chapter 7. So it tells you, okay, go read chapter 7 from Story of the World. Right in here, chapter 7, read it. Optional. And then from page 105, if students are interested in knowing more about Hammurabi's law, you can read a translation of the entire law code there. So then it'll give you like a link that you can go in and type in and find out more information. Again, that's not in the student one, so you would need the teacher's guide. But look at all the answers in green, filled in and circled. Remember when they had to put the Gilgamesh tale in order? Well, there it is, nice in order. So everything is exactly, and then they even give you sample responses in like the talk about it and in the written prompt. So you have something to be like, okay, this is kind of like what I should be looking for. So this one where it said be creative, remember the animal of the forest type one? It says this exercise is optional. And then it even mentions writing and rhetoric. If you're doing writing and rhetoric for the Fable book 1, consider doing yada, yada, yada. So it has all these tie-ins. Now, everything in here was not in the student guide. So what's it telling you in here? This is where you're going to go and you're adding some of the interest in there. You can read the story of Gilgamesh. You know, it's telling you in here, read the story of Gilgamesh. You can read the relevant section from chapter 8 from the Assyrians and the story of the world. And then it's giving you all the stuff. And then, you know, all the stuff if you want to go down. See all that? And sometimes they will have crafts. It doesn't look like this one has any type of crafts, but it is going into some of the legends like Johnny Appleseed, Davy Crockett, like other things to further extend your lesson. But if there is a craft or if there is an activity to do, it's going to be in the teacher's guide and it's going to be at the very end of all these writing prompts at the end. That's where you're going to see it. Okay. That's it. Okay. So the teacher's guide, that's not the last thing for me to share with you guys on the teacher's guide. There is an amazing appendix in the back. See all those maps? You can photocopy them. You can rip them out. You can add them to the student notebooks, like whatever you want. Quizzes are here in the back as well. See, for every single chapter, it has a quiz with the answers filled in. So the quizzes will be in the student book, but the answers are going to be in here in the appendix of the teacher's guide at the very end. I'm kind of going backwards here. Okay, here's the songs. So the song lyrics, remember with ancient Mesopotamia? So it'll have it broken down. So chapters 1 and 2, you memorize that. Chapter 3, chapter 4, chapter 5. And then at the very end, you have like this whole song that if you want to memorize it, you can. And it will have the big important bits for your child to remember. So they have one for every unit. That's unit 1, unit 2. It's going to have one for unit 3, and it's going to have one for unit 4. So you have copies of all the beautiful maps for every single chapter in that book. And then they give you a timeline. And what you can do with this timeline is also make a photocopy and include it in the student notebook, or go ahead and put it all up on the wall as they learn about each specific section. So you have the timeline, but then you also have it done in a timetable format, broken up by civilization. So you have Mesopotamia, you have ancient Egypt. So you have it broken down by the period, the date, the capital of that city, important rulers, and important facts. And they have that for each of the civilizations, and then a big picture in here. And then you have like this reference archives, which I think is just like an additional rundown of, hey, these are the big ideas and big things that we learned for ancient Mesopotamia. And they have it broken down, like who ruled Mesopotamia, the big picture of ancient Mesopotamia, things like that, you know. So that's all found in the back. You have a glossary where the words are put in order, so you don't have to go chapter by chapter if you rather know ahead of time and have one big area where you can look at all the vocabulary words ahead of time. Maybe you want to make flashcards for it or something, then it's there. But then they also have it in alphabetical order as well. So if you don't want to look at it chapter by chapter, it will be right here in alphabetical order with pronunciations of all the people and places. My favorite part is at the end of the year. So you have your 1A, you have your 1B in the teacher's edition. When you get to 1B, that's technically like the end of the year. So they have a really huge cumulative end of the year party. And there's so many awesome ideas in here. Every little thing has been thought of. If you want to, you don't have to wait for the end of the year. As you cover specific things, you can take some of those and put it with that lessons activity if you want, you know, because there is so much. But I kind of think it would be really fun to do it the way they're doing. It's a whole like party, basically. It is, what do they call it? An Egypt day event. I personally think it's going to take me longer than a day to really do everything that I want to do that they have laid out. That's why I mentioned that if you want to, you can parcel it out and kind of integrate it in throughout the year. But look at how cool. There's so much stuff you're going to be doing. Now, it tells you the supplies you need. It tells you how to prepare for it. It's going to give you everything that you possibly need to be able to do this. Guys, you're going to have a chariot race. There's learning stations, like the sandpit station being set up. And it tells you the supplies that you need. An Egyptian bracelet station, pottery and face painting station, a pharaoh collar station, hieroglyphic stone station, a mummy station. Here's your excavation station, scribe station, board games, hidden tombs, like so much stuff. And it's walking you through all the things in here. So I'm really excited. I think I'm going to keep it as an all in one end of the day type thing. Then they give you a sample schedule, how to break it down starting at 8 o'clock in the morning. It even tells you to come dressed up. How do you come dressed up? You're going to be dressed like an archaeologist, and it tells you, how are you going to do that? It tells you like what to wear. So a teacher dressed as an archaeologist meets students outside to talk with them about his or her great discovery and the mysteries of Egypt they will explore. And then it's broken down. And really it begins with the chariot race. I mean, and then you have food. That's your lunch, like this great feast that you're going to be doing. It tells you decor, food, all sorts of things. And then the rest is kind of like your supply list and how to do all the things, you know? That's really what the rest of the pages are devoted to. So that's like probably like my favorite part. And I was like, at first I thought I was going to divvy it up throughout the year because it's a lot. I don't think I'm going to do it. I think we're going to do like a grand 1 week type thing where for like an entire week, that's what we're doing because it's a lot. I don't want to like put it at like, we're going to be at the station for 30 minutes only. What if it takes us like an hour, you know? So anyway, so that's the plan. And I'm super excited to be able to share this with you guys. I hope that this was useful. If you guys know of other people who also have videos on this, let me know because I legit spent a good 2 to 3 weeks scouring YouTube. I'm like, somebody on YouTube has to have done a video. And on Instagram, I was like, who else is doing this? Let me see what somebody else is doing. I couldn't find it, guys. Hopefully this has been helpful. Guys, video 1 is down in the books. Clearly, I'm going to need a tripod though. Maybe my hands are just tired, but I was shaking there for a second. So if you guys enjoy and you enjoy my level of crazy, come join the party train, subscribe. I don't know what this channel is going to turn into. I know it's going to be a lot of curriculum. It's going to be a lot of book share. It's a lot of school stuff. Join the party. Bye, guys.